Fox Sports and the Athletics. Bruce Feldman here in the Honda Insider Report on the Rich Eisen Show. All right, let's get to it. If my crew at the Los Angeles Broadcasting Center can tee up Jim Harbaugh after the beatdown loss again at the hands of the Ohio State. Final score 56-27, and you could even say Ryan Day took the pedal off the metal a little bit. There could have been back-to-back 60 burgers. Here was Jim Harbaugh after the game.
Is this a talent gap? Is it a preparation gap? Is it a coaching gap? What is the biggest difference between you and Ohio State at this point?
I mean, I'll answer your questions, not your insults. So
that wasn't an insult. I mean, you give them 118 points in 2 years.
They played really good. They played good.
That's what I'm asking. What's the biggest difference in the gap between you guys?
They played better today.
All right, Bruce, do you think those were more questions or insults?
I think they're fair questions. I mean, I get why Jim Harbaugh could be defensive on that. I mean, his team just got whipped. I mean, that's the arch rival, and he is 0-5 against the arch rival. And that's a school he is paid to beat more than any other. And, he was close a couple years ago, but he hasn't been close the last 2 years. And I was stat after the game where Don Brown, who's a really good defensive coordinator, is allowing 14 points a game the last 2 years to everybody else in the Big Ten and 59 points a game against Ohio State. I mean, I think Ohio State is definitely the more talented team. If Michigan had played closer to a perfect game, if Shea Patterson doesn't fumble in the red zone, if they don't have the offsides on a 4th and 4 on a punt, and so they don't give them the ball back, I think they have a decent chance to at least make it a game in the fourth quarter. But right now, their margin for error is not very big. But there have been teams with less talent that have whipped Ohio State the last couple of years. What I think you have here is you have an Ohio State program right now under Ryan Day that is very dialed in and very focused, and you're going to get their best punch when that game happens, whereas maybe – you're dealing with 18, 19, 20-year-old kids. Sometimes they're not going to have their A game every week. They're getting their A game when the Wolverines are there. And I don't know, at some point I would think Michigan is going to beat Ohio State. I just don't know when because, Justin Fields is coming back. There's still a lot of really good players at Ohio State are coming back, and I think they're recruiting at a little higher level than Michigan is.
Well, so, I mean, here, just let me stay a little bit here on this with you, Bruce Feldman, Honda Insider Report. Here, I just because I hear that a lot too, that as well. That hey, Purdue got them and waxed them. How come Michigan can't? And I throw that out because Ohio State isn't circling the Purdue game the day after they finished playing Purdue for the next year. They're not walking around saying it's Urdu week because they refuse to say the letter P. Okay, it's just not the same. Now, my question is when it comes time to beat Ohio State, you say, will it happen? Is it with Jim Harbaugh there? Is my alma mater considering something that the fan base thinks unfathomable or used to back in the day?
Who are you going to bring in who is I'm not saying that there aren't great coaches out there, but who can you get who would make you have more confidence that, okay, this guy is going to get
I agree.
it done?
I understand. I hear you.
There isn't that guy. Now, you can shuffle up the staff, and Jim did. He brought in Josh Gaddis for the offense, and I think there's been some positive strides in the second half of the year. I don't know what they do on the defensive side of the ball because they weren't getting enough stops. They give up a ton of big plays. I know Don Brown made some adjustments. I don't know what they do on that. But Jim Harbaugh is a really good coach. Right now it's going to take somebody having a great effort to beat them because you're right, that there's a difference. When Iowa whipped Ohio State a couple of years ago, we had the game the following week for Ohio State, and one of the Ohio State coaches had told me about, I saw it in their eyes and their body language in warm-ups. I was like, oh, bleep, we're in trouble because you can't go sleepwalk against the Kirk Ferentz Iowa team in Iowa City. They got punched in the mouth for 4 hours. They're not going to bring that attitude against Michigan for all the reasons you said before. So you're going to have to up your game to a much higher level. And right now, they're not there. Michigan is a 9-3 kind of team. And if you're going to beat the arch rival when you're going to get their best shot, you better have Clemson-level players or LSU-level offense execution to be able to go toe-to-toe with the Buckeyes.
So you think the 2020 opening season coach at Michigan is Jim Harbaugh?
Yeah, unless he has some kind of health issue or something we don't know about.
Or the NFL knocks on the door, and I don't know. I mean, that's happened before. I mean, I don't know.
You and I have had this conversation before. Jim Harbaugh has always been seen as the ultimate competitor.
Yeah.
The ultimate competitor can't walk away and live with being, I was 0-5 and I got my butt kicked the last 2 years by Ohio State. You're going to go back to the NFL knowing that wound is open?
Hey, look, Bruce, the thing is that I'm not reading about any scandal where kids are doing something stupid or they're cheating and they're winning more often than not, and he's the quarterback that was my first ever quarterback at Michigan. I want them to win with him. I don't want him going anywhere, and I want a foot in the ground, and I want – to use a phrase that you said, Clemson-level recruits, and then find the quarterback that's the difference maker, right? I mean, find the QB that looks like Fields and Jalen Hurts, and find me the guy who looks like Fromm, Nix. I mean, I can go on and on. Tua, Lawrence. Like, put that guy in the wing helmet, find him, and let's roll. Like, that maybe is the answer, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought Shea played pretty well, except he had a costly turnover. And again, that margin for error, and I think the reason why the margin for error is so thin at this point is because Ohio State has a lot better. They have real difference makers on defense, and a bunch of them. I mean, if you were to ask, and you could ask Mike Mayock or Daniel Jeremiah or one of those guys who's really dialed in on this piece of it, you ask them, of the starting 22, how many guys at Michigan who they put out on the field would probably start at Ohio State? I'm not sure there would be more than 2. I mean, maybe there's 2, 3, 4. That's not a lot. And we're talking about, and there's going to be some positions where it's a toss-up guy. Michigan has some good offensive linemen. They have some good defensive linemen. They don't have any Chase Young. They don't have any Jeffrey Okudah. And the receivers are good, but, it's like where they're good, Ohio State is deeper at it. Michigan has some good receivers. Ohio State has more good receivers. Michigan has some good D linemen. Ohio State has Chase Young and way more D linemen. And I just think that that's the part where it's the recruiting, it's the development, and again, it's the difference between a good program right now and a great program.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download the Rich Eisen Show app.